Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today we're slow pitch jigging shallow water for local rockfish. I just bought a new Shimano slow pitch jigging setup and I can't wait to use that on this trip. So today we're fishing anywhere between 100 feet to 150 feet deep water. And I started off using a 160 gram Johnny Flatty. It sinks pretty fast. It's a very slender jig. It sinks very fast. So I started using that. The first stop, it was a pretty good spot. We could see people were catching fish left and right using the baits. I had a good hookup. I got a nice chuck, but I felt like the action wasn't as intense as I wanted to be. So I switched to something quite light, and it's actually an 80 gram jig. So I was using a 20-pound braid, and we were fishing about 100 feet deep. So I could get away. I felt like I could get away with using an 80 gram jig. So after watching Benny talking about the Shimano and game type slow J, I really wanted to give that a try. Before I had been using the Tempo Reef Innovate, and I was quite pleased with that, but I wanted to try something that's more traditionally a slow pitch rod. I know Innovate is more like a long fall rod, so that's why I made the purchase. I got a game type slow J medium action. This rod is weighted for up to 330 gram, and today we're mainly fishing 80 gram. And although you can see that the rod wasn't fully like loaded and unloaded, but the action was still very good. It was quite slow when the rod was unloading, and overall I was very pleased with the performance of the rod. So that's my rod setup. The reel I was using today was the Shimano Ocea Jigger 1500 HG, and that is a very smooth reel. That reel is very powerful, very smooth. It's made in Japan, and overall it's not cheap, but it's a great reel. So that's the second rockfish, second chucklehead for me for today, and the first one I caught using that 80 gram light jig. I changed the hook setup on this jig a little bit. In the beginning I was putting the two hooks at the bottom of the jig, but I felt like I was missing a lot of fish. Then I switched the two hooks to the top of the jig, and it became a lot better. Now we came to this probably the most productive stop of the day, and after just a few pitches I got the first fish. I think when the jig hit the bottom, I cranked the reel for 2 turns and then did 1 or 2 slow pitch jigging actions, and then the fish was hooked. So it's not right on the bottom, it's a little bit off the bottom. And it turned out to be a very good vermilion rockfish.
Oh man, it's a salmon.
No, it's a red, right?
What is it?
I think it's a red.
Oh, another red. Skip him the bow. Look at that thing.
Sorry.
That's a red.
I think it's a red, yeah.
My meter is way up right now, guys. Big red's coming up here. Alright.
So that was the first drop of that stop. And after catching that red, I immediately dropped the jig back down to the bottom of the ocean. Wanted to seize this opportunity to catch, as many as we can.
Flag. You had another one on the shirt. Alright, I'm gonna go check out my bag, see what. What's that? Go check out my bag. I mean, like I said, you can do it on the next move too. You can fish it now. I'm good with it. Well, I got no bait anyway, so I got a free bait. I got bait right here, sir. Yeah, I got you guys. Keep fishing. Thunder is good right now.
So before this particular hookup, I did a long pitch, a long fall, followed by a short pitch. So the second pitch was shorter than the first one, and the fish took the bite at the second shorter pitch. So I think the first long fall really attracted the attention of the fish, and the second shorter pitch, it just made it easier for the fish to attack the lure.
We're just gonna bounce this one too, I guess. David, help us out over here. We're gonna keep fishing. What do we got? Jig fishing at its finest, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Sorry, wrapped up. I don't want to get your wrap.
So that's 2 drops, 2 fish so far on this stop. Now let's get the third one.
Red.
And just like that, 2 slow pitches right on the bottom, and we got the third fish on this stop. This actually turned out to be the first and the only whitefish that I hooked on slow pitch jig for this trip. And typically the jig is too big for the whitefish because they have small mouth, and so it's not very typical to really hook a whitefish using a jig.
How they make soup. That I don't know. A lot of people use these for ceviche. Okay. That's kind of what they're known for. That or fish tacos. You know, your real clean white meat.
So on this particular drop, I felt the bite when the jig hit the bottom, but I wasn't able to hook the fish. So I dropped the jig again down to the bottom, and it was an instant hookup.
Rockfish.
You got it?
Got it.
You got it? Oh, thanks.
It's not hooked very well.
Okay.
What's wrong with the right side of the boat right now?
We're just listening to the port side a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I feel it up here.
Thanks.
And one thing to notice is that anytime during the trip when I feel my line is very tilted, I would rather reel the jig in and cast it out again so I can remain vertical for my presentation. I feel like this is more effective than trying to jig a line with a very tilted angle. I feel like it just doesn't give the jig the proper action and doesn't attract the fish to bite. So I would rather take the time to reel the jig in and cast it out again so I can remain more vertical.
Spinning rod now, huh? I like it.
Thanks.
Trust myself with these hooks and these jigs.
Yeah, gotta be careful.
I just don't fish jigs like this ever, because I don't tuna fish or anything, so I'm just not comfortable with them yet. Have you been down there since you stopped and haven't gotten bit? Lines are tight. Not tight. See how loose that is? I'll let you talk to me about it. You're loose. Look how loose it is. That's what causes tangles. You could do this all day on this, couldn't you?
So much fun.
Got it?
Thanks. Yeah, got it.
So another technique that I've been applying on this trip is that whenever the fish wasn't biting very well, I would actually crank up a few turns and crank and pitch, and then reintroduce the jig to the bottom. And sometimes that can attract the fish to bite for some reason. And this was a very interesting scenario. There were times when people were catching whitefish or smaller rockfish that they don't bite on jigs very well. And here on this particular stop, there were a lot of blue bass. So what I did was I was just reading the jig up, and somehow the fish bit the jig when I was reading that up. I didn't even stop and pitch in this case. And here I got an instant bite right when I hit the bottom with the jig, but I knew it was a very small fish, but I never thought that it could turn out to be a mackerel.
Oh, what the hell is this? Oh, mackerel. That's the first. I think I got this one. Oh.
Oh, yeah, I can do it.
It's okay, I got it. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, we're gonna be close, Skip.
And if you pay close attention to this particular drop, after a few long fall, I just let the jig sit there and the fish took the bite. It wasn't very textbook slow pitch jigging, but for some reason, maybe the fish saw the jig was dancing up and down. It was like a wounded bait fish, and when he saw that bait fish was just there standing still, it took the opportunity to attack the bait. So my conclusion is that you really need to try different actions. Long fall, short pitch, it's could be a combination of both, crank and pitch. I think by trying different different pitches, different actions, you will understand more about this slow pitch jigging. That's my feeling after this trip. So this is the final stop of the day. I already got my limit of the rockfish, and we were fishing for the boat limit. And to me, it's just I want to catch more fish. It's a lot of fun catching fish, so I didn't stop along with many other people. We just kept fishing. And here I was just discussing how I want my fish to be clean with the deckhand. I got a bite right when I was talking to the deckhand. So I was reading when I was giving him some of my requirements for how to process the fish, and it was a very interesting experience. And this last stop was another very productive stop for me, and I think I got 3 chucklehead on this final stop, and it's just a great way to end a fantastic trip. So to sum up, this was one of my favorite slow pitch jigging trips this year. I had a great time. I met a lot of new friends. Many people were, they were coming to me and they were asking me about what I was doing, and I explained slow pitch jigging to quite a few friends. And hopefully, more people will get to try this very interesting way of catching bottom fish. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, you can type it down in the comment section. Again, if you enjoyed watching the video, please don't forget to click the like button. And thank you everyone. I will see you next time.